Welcome to episode 30 of the Brand X podcast. I'm John, and alongside me is my co-host Deuce. Deuce, how's it going, sir?
Busy as heck, as always. It must be the holidays.
There we go. In this episode, we're going to teach another podcast a little bit about manners and give them an extensive review. We're going to get into the topic of bullying, again, using this as a teaching moment because we care. We're going to talk about bullying today versus bullying back in the day. And something I didn't know, Colin Kaepernick was given up for adoption by his birth mom, and now she tweets at him.
I'm sure that makes his adopted mother feel nice.
Right. Yeah, how does that work? And then solar energy plants. You brought a nice story we would like to talk about. It's vaporizing bugs, birds, and bats. Oh, my. Mm-hmm. And before we get into that, a little bit of show business, I want to thank Jerry and Dave of Bad Cop for being guests last week. Man, was that a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a blast.
And then what happened was we shut the show off because we went so long. And then we talked for another almost 2 hours. We could have had two shows out of those guys.
Yeah, there was like a post-show show.
There was a post-show show. Yeah. So that was pretty neat. And then also Deuce designed a new BXP logo. We are now so pretentious. We're like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Electric Light Orchestra, and the Dave Matthews Band. We're shortening our name just to the three letters. So now we are BXP. How about that?
That sounds awesome.
You did a great job. I love the logo. I don't know if you noticed it, but I changed it on all our social media. I changed it in iTunes. If you haven't checked it out, just check out our logo.
Yeah, you didn't waste any time doing that. I no sooner sent it out, and I woke up the next day, and you must have been up all night doing that stuff.
While we were talking, I was changing it. While we were doing whatever we were doing, I was changing the logo everywhere. So I'm excited about the logo. I love the way it looks. Maybe it's me. I know you probably think I'm an idiot, but I do. I really like it, and I'm excited. I actually want to get T-shirts made now. I think that's kind of cool.
It was just like one of those inspirational thing, and I just started dickering around with it, and then I sent you a rough.
Yeah.
And you went nuts about it, and then we just build up on it from there.
Yeah, I kind of like the whole circle thing. It could be a patch. I just like it.
Could be the center of an album.
It could be a center of an album. Who does albums anymore?
Yeah, well, showing our age. But that's what I was looking for.
That's true.
Because, the old albums back in the day, everything about albums was cool. The cover, the liner notes, the center sticker.
Right.
Everything was cool.
So it's Christmas time, and you always have the rigging up of the lights.
Yes.
How did that go this year? I don't do the rigging up of the lights.
Yeah. Every year it gets.
Can you keep it under an hour? The
story. Yes. It started out well enough. We had a little bit of rain here and it was freezing cold. But the day I did it, it was pretty nice. Everything was a little wet, but it was warm. And I got those thorn bushes, so you got the gloves on, and I get everything up. Okay, and I'm running the lights, one from the back receptacle, one from the front. And there is a strand out there that's been haunting me for for about 3 years. And all of a sudden, half the lights are just out. And then you got to try to find the problem. So last year it happened after Christmas, and I just said, fuck it. And I just left them off. But stupid me, when I took the lights down, I didn't bother to trace that problem.
Right.
So guess what Jackass did? He put the lights back up, so guess what happened? Yeah, I'm all happy, I've got him on the timer. I'm like, ooh, and Diane, as you know, is Kid Christmas, so I'm going to have the lights up when she comes home because she gets home at night when it's just getting dark.
Right.
And she comes in, and I'm expecting her to be all excited, and you guys, the lights are off. So then it was just such a busy week. So today I went out there, and basically I had to redo the shrubbery. And I found the damn light that was the strand that was giving me the problems and the issues, And like I said, it was mostly my fault. And not only that, I'm mixing LED lights with old fashioned incandescent lights, and
nice.
Well, those ones were made in America. That's why they still work. But the problem is LEDs. I mean, you could probably string together 9 miles of LEDs and run it off of a 110 socket. I mean, they'll light because they draw so little juice. But those incandescents, once you get that, and I think that was the problem, was the bad strand with the incandescent lights, it was just popping fuses inside. There's inline fuses. And
Right.
It was a mess. So I got that problem straightened out today. So that killed another, extra day of my life that I won't get back.
I'm back to playing poker.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the game, I love the game of poker. It has so many layers. It's all about information. And
You were heavily into it about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. Poker's basically algebra. It's where you take knowns to figure out an unknown. One of the things I'm trying to learn how to do better is to handle bad beats. And a bad beat is if you get your money in good, in other words, at a higher percentage of winning than losing, there is a chance that you can lose. So what I had to learn is poker is a game of decisions, and all I have to do is make the right decision. Should I do whatever I was going to do? Should I call? Should I raise? Should I fold? Whatever I should do. And if it's the right decision, then whatever happens, the outcome doesn't matter. So there's a bar down the street here for me. It's actually across from the truck stop. And they just started having this free poker. And I just go there to kind of work out, just try different things about my game. And I got in there, and there was this one woman who she's kind of like the Jimmy, where she just wanted to calm me down. I'm not going to be afraid of you. I'm not going to let you bully me. Well, I don't just go trampsing into raising and stuff without a halfway decent hand.
Right.
But a couple times she would get lucky on me, and she would take the hand. And I was like, mad. And I said, no, don't get mad. You'll get her. The math, the percentages are with you. Just continue to play your game. So the first game I played, I got 5th. And of course, I had a big hand and I was short stacked. So I went all in with an ace jack, which is a pretty good starting hand. Mm-hmm. And the guy in the big blind's like, I don't know why, he called off half of his chips with a 9 deuce, off suit 9-2. And he hit a 2. And he knocked me out. And I was mad, but I was like, you know what? Don't get mad. It'll happen. The second game I got in, that lady had a huge chip stack when we got to the final table. And I whittled her down like a stick.
Yeah.
And I finally knocked her out. And it was me against somebody else. And I ended up winning the tournament. But I was like,
look at you.
Yeah. But I love playing the game. But, it's just that whole thing is when they suck out on you, you feel like, you want to be nice. On the outside, you're like, oh, nice hand. But on the inside, it's like, nice hand. Asshole. You just want to spit in their face. So I got to kind of get my emotions.
That's very sportsmanlike of you, John.
Wow, look at that. You hit a
hawk a big giant lunger right into her face. Yeah, that's...
Wow. Nice hand.
Damn. Yeah, note to self, don't play poker against John.
No, I've never spit on anybody yet. I'm not saying I haven't wanted to. But let's get into the first topic of the day. It's actually something that came up this morning, so I had to kind of throw everything out, rewrite show notes and everything. And it came from a tweet from a friend of mine, Emily, who hosts the Story Behind podcast. Her tweet was, oh my goodness, can at Podcast 411 get out his soapbox for this on the next feed, which is a show from Lipson. It's called The Feed. The tweet was, at Crime Cocktails, leaving dozens of these reviews is not the way to expand your audience. So what these people... They started a podcast.
Who are these people?
And apparently it's a family. I think it's like a mother and a son. And
yeah.
And you know me, I am a self-proclaimed ambassador of podcasting. And I have in the past reached out to other podcasters and offered my assistance unsolicited. If you even go back to episode 4 of this podcast, we had someone tweet us that said they gave us a 5-star review. And when we didn't go back and give them a 5-star review, because I didn't see the tweet, they pulled their review back.
Yeah, he withdrew.
Right. So what did I do? I immediately I did something better. I took and reviewed his podcast on our podcast, which I thought was very nice of me. Don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so.
You were there.
Yeah, I know.
Was it nice? I mean, we did a good job, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
At that time, I was still very new, so I didn't...
Yeah, you were just like...
The only podcast I was listening to was Weeds.
So why are my balls so twisted right now? I'll tell you. Apparently, somebody got on the computer and started typing out 1-star reviews on iTunes. Now, these mental midgets, they thought if they would go in and on iTunes badmouth other podcasts and put the name of their podcast in that review, that would get them listeners come and run into their podcast. Ma, get on that computer box over there and type out some more reviews. We need some listeners. So then Ma, she goes over and says, all right, I'll get on it. Ma, what are you doing? I'm typing out the reviews. You can't type them out on a computer, on a typewriter. You got to type them on a computer box. So I guess Ma decided to get on the pooter box. And again, this is all speculation on my part because Ma wasn't much of a typer or, whatever. I don't know. I kind of see it going more like this. Son, you don't understand. I met your pappy when I was in the typing pool back in the bank. He looked at my shorthand and my typing skills and my poodle skirt. And that afternoon in the men's room, it was ankles up. And that's how you came along, you little bastard. So I figure that they decided to go on, and they started typing out these 1-star reviews. At first they got in there, and they actually started writing some reviews. This is a good podcast. Oh, no, wait a minute. It says, 2 girls trying to be funny and failing immensely. Search for crime and cocktails. It's similar, but actually funny and has good information. Then the next podcast that they reviewed was their own. They gave that one 5 stars. Very funny. This is a good podcast. Very funny and entertaining. Now, they tried to throw everybody off because the name of their iTunes name was Poop Your Pants in the Morning. Now, that's a funny name. So then I guess they got tired of this is too hard trying to figure out different ones. I'm just going to copy and paste. So this is what they did. They just went, I like drunk, funny podcasts, like crime and cocktails. This is neither drunk or funny. And they put this review in 24 podcasts.
Wow.
They just
look at this. This is like,
you see them. I put them in the notes.
Yeah, it's like the loaves and the fishes. It just goes on and on.
On and on and on. So I thought to myself, we need to teach these people a lesson. So for me, I'm thinking to myself, if they're reviewing these shows as 1 star, then this show that they have, this must be a humdinging, knee-slapping, funny show. So I went to listen to it. I got through about 12 minutes, to be honest with you. And I'm not going to play the 12 minutes here. You, my friend, we're going to talk to you a little bit later because you listened to almost the whole thing, which was like 2 hours. Wasn't it a 2-hour podcast?
It's an hour and 57 minutes and some change that I'll never get back.
I don't know. You thought I wanted you to listen to it because it was like a friend of mine's podcast or something?
Yeah. I
didn't give you the whole
Or
story.
you thought it was really great. And I'm listening to it. But go ahead. You finish up.
So here we go. Let's plug into the Crime and Cocktails podcast. This is episode 9, Jack the Ripper.
All right, this is episode 9 of the Crime and Cocktails podcast. We're talking about Jack the Ripper here, and our cocktail for the evening is the Jack the Ripper shot. I just want to thank everybody that's listening to the podcast regularly, that's downloading it. If you like it, tell your friends, promote us on Facebook, like us on whatever feed you download the podcast from, and just help us get our name out there so there's more people listening, so there's more people you can talk to about how silly we sound when we're drunk. Thanks.
All right, so now, that right there, I'm never going to cut up my own reading again. Not that it was there's just no energy. There's just nothing. There's no energy. And guess what? That's the best audio quality of the podcast. So me, being a podcaster.
And a ball breaker. Basically what this guy has done is he sat a microphone in the middle of a table and he turned it on. None of them have headphones on. They can't. Just by listening, there's no way they can have headphones on. And they just start talking and doing podcast. All right. So let's go. Let's do the beginning. Let's get into the meat of it. Here we go.
All right, episode 9, Crime and Cocktails. We're talking about Jack the Ripper. cocktail is the Jack the Ripper cocktail.
Maybe you should start talking when you're over here, so it's not like...
Maybe you should shut your goddamn mouth when I'm trying
like that.
Getting off to a swimming start, aren't we? We're already arguing. Mom's already in there yelling at him. Hey, you two knock it off over there. So they're going to get into it. And apparently these two, they got to be brothers because...
For what I could determine, because...
Oh, okay, you've got a little bit more listening time than I did. Go ahead.
Yeah, for what I could determine, it's the mother, the father, though he doesn't say much. You have to, I mean, I didn't even know he was like even there until like maybe an hour and a half in.
Okay.
No bullshit. Like an hour and a half in, like, all right, Dad, what do you think? I'm like, Dad. So
now is the guy
there? From what I can determine, there's 5 people in there. There's 2 brothers.
Okay.
Mal and Paul, and there's another woman that must be
Amanda,
a wife of one of the 2. I'm assuming, or maybe it's a sister. I don't know. That was not made clear to me. Okay. I thought you were mad at me when you made me listen to this. Like,
I said in the message, I said, try to listen to 15 minutes of this.
Yeah, but you left it real cryptic like I do to you.
Cryptic? Try to listen to 15 minutes of this?
That's not what you said, not try.
What did I say? Let's go to the tape. Go ahead, pull it up.
Oh, here we are. If you get a chance, see if you can find Crime and Cocktails podcast and listen to the first 15 minutes of the latest episode.
There we go. There it is. Not the whole 2 hours of it.
Nah, but you were like framing it like, see how horrible it is. You just kind of left it like open-ended. So I'm like,
open-ended? No, it says right there, listen to the first 15 minutes. How open-ended is that?
But you didn't say if you can, like you tried to say.
Okay.
I said so the way, in that context, the way you let it, I was like, well, it must be a friend of John's, or maybe somebody gave us a review or something. You know, you're thinking, and then I'm listening to it, and it's like, what?
All right, let's get into that.
What's going on here?
I know. All right, hang on. I think the 2 brothers are in the fight, and the mom's trying to break it up. Hold on, here we go.
We can't keep cutting out bad words, Mom. You cut out the F word.
I'd rather hear the F word than the GD word.
You heard it, David.
All right, F word, go back.
F word's back in.
Woo! The F word. All right. Now, the best thing about this is that the only thing that's really mic'd up well is the shaker right now, because you can barely hear him. And Eric's so excited. Look, Ma said we could use the F word. Oh, boy, we can use the F word as long as we don't use the GD word. Here, Mom will clarify in a second.
But if you say the GD word once, then they're both out.
Now, I don't know where this rule came from, because I've been saying that since the beginning.
Why don't you just tell him if he says the GD word, he gets a spanking from Amanda.
Oh, no, he might enjoy that, so yeah, we don't want to.
Oh.
I don't see is there supposed to be...
The grenadine comes later.
Oh, okay.
But
They're still trying to make this stupid shot.
Yeah, it's like 9 minutes of mixing drinks.
Yeah, what's that about? I don't look equal. I look equal to you.
He always gets the bigger one.
Yeah,
Who gets the little bitty one?
Yeah, always gets the big steak.
That's Amanda. She's like in the next room talking in the next room. All right, so Ma's upset that she didn't get the big shot. She only got a tiny shot. Mm-hmm. And Amanda's in the next room. Already it's a train wreck. Listen, I have to right now apologize to Toe on the Trigger podcast, and especially to Kinky Cassie, because Amanda takes being off mic to a whole other level. And like I said...
Well, none of them were really on mic.
None of them.
No, I mean, I got an hour and a half plus into this, so it's like...
As I'm going on here, they're not a fan of Old Crow for this shot. So then they got some fancy sipping whiskey. I think it was butter pecan whiskey that someone got out.
Butterscotch.
No, they had butterscotch schnapps.
Right.
But they used butter pecan whiskey. This is where the Old Crow thing comes in. Hold on.
Tastes like a sweeter whiskey.
Does it taste like whiskey? I don't want it as whiskey.
Just take a sip. Just take a sip.
Tastes like butter shots.
No.
It tastes like butterscotch whiskey.
That's what it's supposed to. I mean, that's the 2
That's
ingredients.
what it is.
And you want mine? I thought I'd like it because I love butter shots, but that's not butter shot. It's not this.
It's mostly whiskey flavor.
It's too much alcohol.
Fire.
Where is she at? Is she
Well, I
outside?
might try the other
What kind of whiskey
I
is
got.
this, anyway?
That's Old Crow bourbon.
Yeah,
But I got my whiskey that I got from Friar Tuck's the other day.
that's peach.
Yeah, Oak
Peach
Crow is
pecan.
not for something like this. Oak
Yeah.
Crow's for mixing like Coke and whiskey
Right.
or something like that.
Because this is really, you can taste the flavor of the whiskey. Really
Yeah, when you're going to taste it, you want to make sure you got a good whiskey.
There you go. Mom's all over it. Mom's straightening this whole thing right out. All right. So now,
It's
nothing
like a
yet.
chemist.
Right.
She's
Nothing.
the chemist of whiskey.
6 minutes in. We're 6 minutes in. You think maybe we'll get into Jack the Ripper yet? Nope.
It's got like whipped cream in it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try one with the peach pecan.
Now the best thing that is mic'd up is her ice cubes.
Something I sampled yesterday gave me a
chug it.
headache.
I think this is the
All
brother.
difference. You were drinking
Yeah,
wine,
yeah.
beer, and whiskey and hard liquor. So yeah, that's probably what it was. It was all of it.
Something gave me a funky headache. Like I drank
Yeah,
something
it was
so
probably
good.
the mixture of everything together. You're not supposed to be mixing stuff like that.
I don't know about that, Mom.
Well, me and Daniel both were complaining about our sinuses today too, so it could be a combination of something yesterday.
I
and
started having a headache today
whatever's
too.
going
Later
on
in the
with
day,
the-
yeah.
Oh, that smells good.
Weather change.
I think Amanda's married to Daniel now. Not 100% sure.
I don't know. I couldn't make heads or
I think
tails of
that's,
it.
yeah. All right.
I'm still unclear as how many people are actually in the room.
Right.
I mean, regarding
I
men.
have no idea. Now, I'm still waiting for funny, but here we go. Ma tells a joke. Hold on. Here comes Ma with a joke.
That's that peach pecan. That stuff.
Yeah, I bought a bottle of that too. That's
Oh,
what
the McClintock. Good party.
Where
Where's
the whiskey? Oh, you're gonna have to cut that out.
You guys want to try some?
Man,
I have no idea what they said, but that was so controversial that Ma wants that cut out. You know, I go to church, and I don't want the ladies in the church to know that I've been saying whatever I just said, because I can't have this nonsense on this podcast hurt me in the church. Hold on, here we go.
gonna be on the floor here soon.
As long as she's not laying out in
She's
the
over
front
there.
yard.
Is that a good
I
time?
guess you didn't
He
hear
said,
that
man
joke.
is going to be here on the floor in a minute. I said, well, as long as she's not laying in the front yard.
There we go. And again,
It's gonna be really hot that day.
the only thing that's mic'd up is the ice cubes.
Are you okay there?
No,
Well, that's making me cough.
I don't think he likes the peach.
I don't like the peach.
Yeah, but it's smooth.
It doesn't matter. He didn't like the peach.
Well, then, well, why does that make you cough?
Because he don't like the peach.
I said he don't like the peach.
Because I almost swallowed down the wrong pipe.
Bugs Bunny was in there.
It's like butterscotch candy.
This one with the Old Crow is pretty rough.
Just chug it.
That's all. Just chug it. Ma's in there full of information. Let's speed up to 9 minutes and 33 seconds into the podcast. Are we talking about Jack the Ripper yet?
Everything gives you.
You already had a
when you
headache,
shut your
so you
mouth.
can't
You
blame it on
give,
that.
you give us that egg.
Got shit in it.
All right, so we're talking about Jack the Ripper.
Oh, here we go. Jack the Ripper. Let's get into it.
Got too many soul fights.
That's
There's no
wine.
fights in that. And let's so just kind of do. I guess we'll start with a brief kind of overview. He was a serial killer, believed.
Was he?
Well,
Believed to be.
Why don't you start talking about the murders?
hold on. He was.
You hold on.
You hold on.
You hold on.
You hold on.
Oh, we got our first show fight. You hold on. You hold on. You hold. I think it's between the brothers right there. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we got our first.
See,
show
I'm not
fight.
sure if it's a son and his father or two sons and the father.
Well, I never. These are the only voices that I've heard so
Yeah,
far.
because it's like, well, it just gets to be a mess. And I listened to it in my car
Right.
over the speakers just to like and it was no better.
Okay. And the background noise is horrendous. The background noise is horrendous. So I figure, okay. Oh, we got one little cough. Okay, we're done with that. Finally, like the hosts, I guess they're trying to figure out who's going to be the head host. So they get into another dust up, and it wasn't that much longer. So here we go.
November 9th of 1888. So it was all over the course of
About 10 weeks.
about 10 weeks. 5 people were killed in the same district, which is the East.
Sounds like Amanda's doing dishes or cleaning up around the area. Because, I mean, there's just so much noise going on in the background. I have no idea what's happening.
Probably spilled
but now
his drink.
remember, They have went out and made 31 one-star reviews to other podcasts because this is fun, funny, and informational. All right, here we go.
East End District of London, also known as the Whitechapel District. And that's where we're starting. So does anybody want to talk about some of the other murders?
It's all aliens.
Did you find anything where it was like possible? Because there was one. So
Why don't you just start with the first murder that is possibly attributed to the Ripper, and just describe it, and then we'll talk about what we think about it.
I'll talk about what I want to talk about. Why don't you just?
Well, if I remember correctly, the first murder was
Martha Taber.
Was that the one where the lady was stabbed a bunch of times?
No, there was
one before that. I think there was one.
I can't take anymore. Okay, so what I'm thinking right now is,
was it at this point that you said I'll let Deuce do it?
Again, I told you that just listen to 15 minutes. It says it right there. So, okay. So I'm just thinking of them sitting in a room with a Encyclopedia Britannica book broken open, for the letter J for Jack the Ripper, and they're reading out of the encyclopedia. I mean, I can't believe that they would actually have. Again, I don't understand what the technology is. I mean, they are making a podcast, believe it or not. But as far as I'm concerned, okay, let's get into this right now. Let's give them some constructive criticism. Because to be honest with you, this show sucks. All right, it's horrible. And them to be out giving out one-star reviews is a joke. A lot of other people put a lot into their shows, and for them to get a one-star review because of this nonsense is bullshit.
That's an insult.
It is an insult. So let's tell them how to straighten this out. All right, Jethro, you might want to take and invest in a few microphones. Here, write this down because I know you're going to listen. Go to Audio-Technica ATR 2100. They're about $65. They're a USB or an XLR. Now, a USB is the cord that goes in the back of the mic and plugs right into that computer box, okay? You can use it that way. But I suggest you get a mixer. And no, not the mixer that Ma has in the kitchen that she makes mashed taters with. A mixer is an audio mixer. You can go to Amazon, get on that computer box, go on Amazon and look up mixer, all right? And then you plug these microphones in the mixer and get some headphones so you can hear how bad you sound. And that'll straighten out some of your sound. Now, number 2, have a little meeting beforehand and kind of go over the show a little bit so you and your brother aren't arguing. You do it. I do it. No, you do it. You do it. I'll do what I want. All right? Nobody wants to listen to that, especially like that. And the other thing is, mic up the mother because she's the best thing of the show. She really is. She's that little hidden gem. And Amanda, I have no idea because she's so far off mic, I have no idea what she's talking about. I couldn't hear anything that she said, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, it's like they had her locked in a closet. Here's
the other thing, because you're going to have to make amends because you screwed up. So what you need to do is you need to go back and take all those one-star reviews and listen to the podcast and give them an honest review. If you like them, 3, 4, 5 stars, whatever, and write them an honest review. You can go back and change your reviews. And I task you to do that because I have friends and we're all mad. And we will come down on you with the wrath of 100,000 podcasters. Maybe not that many, but a lot.
That would be a lot.
That would be a lot. And, for you to step out of line like this, now I know you don't know what you're doing. It's obvious, very obvious you don't know what you're doing. We're going to give you a chance because podcasting is all about love. We're a community. We'll help you, okay? If you don't walk around and start doing stupid shit like you're doing right now by giving one-star reviews. I know you didn't listen to one of those podcasts. I guarantee it. You might have listened to 1 or 2. There's no way you listen to all 30, 32? There's no way. No way. So, Jethro, whoever's the head podcaster over there, the head muckety-muck, do what I told you. Get some microphones. Get near the microphones. A microphone stands would help, too. I can't imagine you trying to drink and after you get all drunk, hold microphones. Besides that, the microphones would turn into a weapon. Could you imagine that?
It's like they're doing karaoke.
They're beating the shit out of each other.
Holding the mic and drinking.
So the name of this podcast is Crime and Cocktails. I suggest you go in there. They're 9 episodes in. They've only done 9 episodes. But we're going to give them a chance to redeem themselves. Here's another thing you could do, is you can see how other independent podcasters promote each other, because we rejoice in each other's podcasts. We are fans of each other's podcasts. We support them and we promote them and help them try to get listeners. And that's because we are the hashtag Podern family. We are a bunch of independent podcasters who support, encourage, help with technology, all that kind of stuff. And here's a few shows that I highly recommend.
This week on the Epic Film Guys podcast.
I haven't had a hand job in 10 years. Well, not that I can remember. I might be getting one in the bathroom at a bar. I don't know. All I know is that during the holidays, give to your homeless men. This is a public Spursus announcement that to give to homeless men on the street. Hey, we need to eat. We like to enjoy Christmas too, especially New Year's.
You know you're not going to buy any fucking
Christmas.
food with that. You're going to go eat double cheese out of the dumpster and spend it all on Mr. Boston and PBR.
I don't want no Mr. Boston. I want Cristal, bitch. I want the whole deal.
This is Paul.
And this is Wayne.
And this week on
The Countdown Movie and TV Reviews podcast.
we have a woman guest
We have a
host.
woman guest. Yes, we are doing top 10 feel-good movies. Movies that made you feel good in the cinema, made you float out, be all positive about life and shit.
That's right. Janelle joined us, and what a surprise that you would mention floating out of the cinema, because your film list has your head in the clouds again.
And once again, Paul is going to be a total bitch in this fucking episode, but what are you going to do? Because he has no soul. Join us to hear about people with a soul.
Eat a dick.
Yeah, well, that's right, bitch. Now, cue the explosion.
This is Emily Prokop from The Story Behind, a podcast exploring the extraordinary history behind the ordinary. I publish twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays, so that's 2 chances for you to listen and get some conversation fodder for your friends who love random trivia as much as I do. The episode for Monday, December 19th is The Story Behind the Polygraph, which includes the science behind it and how to pass a lie detector test. The episode for Thursday, December 22nd, is The Story Behind Christmas Traditions, in which I go through a few quick stories behind Santa, his reindeer, candy canes, holiday lights, and a Christmas story. Tune in on your favorite podcast app. Just search for The Story Behind or find out more at thestorybehindpodcast.com.
All right, so I got a call from the ex. My son got in trouble in school.
Ah, no, really?
Yeah, apparently he, again, a little bit of background. I have a son. He's 14 years old. He's autistic. He's on the spectrum. And he does not like to be teased. But he's a very docile kid. He's not aggressive. You know, he's not one of those kids that freak out. I mean, if any kid that's on the spectrum can melt down, but they usually melt down because they're teasing or they get into a situation that they don't like. They can't process it and stuff like that. So one of the things that John can't stand is that if the internet goes out or the electricity goes down, like he would never make it if the grid went down. He'd be like rocking in the corner in the fetal position. He can't stand it because that's where he lives. He lives on the internet. He loves cartoons. He loves watching videos and stuff like that. That's his wheelhouse. So there's a kid, and the kid's name is Premier. Now I don't know what kind of name Premier is. I have no idea. That's what I was thinking. But apparently Premier, he kept teasing John. He would say, oh, guess what, John? The internet's out. Well, apparently John got a little upset about this and took things into his own hands, and he took Premier's head and he kind of bounced it off the wall.
Good for John.
That's what I'm saying. Hang on one second.
One of the early on ones was lady that
here we go. I got
did
all
not die
kinds of
right away.
crap
She was
going
in the hospital.
What happened
She
here?
was a gang attacker.
I can't get rid of crime and cocktails now.
I was going to say, that's an unusual sound.
No, that's unusual. So anyhow, John went and he got upset, and Premier, it's not Premier. I was already corrected. It's Premier. he decided that John had enough, and he decided to take Primeer's head and bounce it off a wall. And so what happened is whenever there's an incident like that, you know, the school gets involved. And as far as I'm concerned, that is like bullying. So I'm sure the kids know that John gets upset about that. So what they did was they continued to tease him. And then John decided he had enough, and he just bounced his head off the wall, and he gave the kid a lump. So that was like a big deal. There was he was physically harmed. They call my ex, and then my ex calls me, and she says, you know, we might have to talk to them. I said, okay, I'll talk to them. They're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I'll talk to them because this is my position. If the kid don't want his head bounced off the wall, stop telling John the internet's down. Mm-hmm. Okay? John doesn't find it funny. It's not the truth. You're doing that to get a rise out of John. You're doing that to make him upset. And guess what? He's had enough. And as far as I'm concerned, he has my permission that the next kid that tells him the internet's out and it's not out, he can bang that kid's head off a wall. That's the way I look at it. Am I wrong? Because I have a feeling that once Primeer's lump heals, that he won't be telling John the internet's out anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's what Joe always referred to as self-correcting behavior. If you act like an asshole, eventually someone will correct you, and you won't act like an asshole anymore.
Exactly. Now, I don't know if we've ever talked about this. Were you bullied in school?
Oh yeah, we did that whole episode, and like I said, they were usually older kids. You had a couple of grades up on you. There's only one bully that was like in the grade with us.
Okay.
And he was just one of those kids who was just like gigantic for his age.
Left back a few times, maybe?
Well, no, he was just one of those guys. He was just a genetic freak. And, you know, he was just bigger than the rest of us. You know, but then by the time we got to high school, he was shorter than most of us. So it was kind of God's revenge.
Right. Yeah.
And he wasn't a bully in high school.
Well, of course not, because he was
strange
smaller.
How that happened.
Yeah, because what happens is he tried that bullying crap, and he got his ass kicked a few times.
Right, because self-correcting behavior.
Exactly. Because there's nothing better than to actually finally win a fight against a bully. We had one in our neighborhood, and we would get in fights with him. I would lose fights all the time, and one day I finally got big enough, and he came and he started some crap with me, and he says, well, if you don't get this, if I don't see this tomorrow, I'm going to come back and kick your ass. And I said, well, I'm not going to do it. So you might as well kick my ass right now. And he came after me, and it was... And I'll tell you what, I started putting an ass whooping on him, and he started trying to drag himself back to the car. Like, he was 17, and I think I was like 15. And, I put an ass whooping on him, and guess what? He never bothered me again.
Strange how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
The burned hand teaches best.
I agree. So that brings me to our next story. Knife-wielding teen at Reno High School shot by police. A student at the high school who allegedly threatened his classmates with a knife was captured in disturbing images posted in social media as he was shot by campus cops, according to reports. Well, it's just one. So what happened, again, this kid was getting bullied. Mm-hmm. All right. So he decided to bring these knives, like they were like, I don't know, Asian fighting knives or something. They were about like maybe 1.5 feet, 2 foot long. And he was like Jackie Channing around, like he was doing a kata. And I guess, these people were all kind of moving out of the way, and he was, Jackie Channing around. And the cop said, hey, drop the knife. And he didn't drop the knife. I guess either he didn't hear him or whatever. And he did a couple more Jackie Chan steps and all, and the cop just shot him. Mm-hmm. So the cop administered CPR. They got him to the hospital. He lost part of his lung, but he's going to be okay. He's going to make a recovery. Now, 40 students witnessed this whole scene. Several of them recorded it on their cell phones.
Well, sure they did.
Of course they did.
Yeah.
Right? So there's multiple videos out there. And some of them, they said, were very disturbing. Now, how upset are you if you stopped? When you're upset or scared or you fear for your life, what do? Do you grab your camera and start filming, or do you run for your life?
Well, I would run, but I'm a baby boomer, so we kind of had common sense. That's why there's so many of us.
Right. So they didn't identify the cop that shot the kid. They haven't identified him yet.
I doubt they will. Not
Right.
with that age.
Now,
I doubt
he's
that
on
they will.
administrative leave. There's the video. I'll have links to the story in the show notes. You can go to brandxpodcast.com/030 and check out the story. But here's the thing. Now they've got to bring in counselors because everybody's traumatized. People that have seen this, they need counseling and they're upset. If it was me, if I'm the superintendent of that school, I'd bring them all into an assembly and this is my speech. Okay. You think you're upset about that? I want you to remember that. Let that image burn into your mind. If you bring a gun or a knife and threaten another student safety and try to harm him or even look like you're going to harm him, the cop will bust a cap in your ass. Now, this poor kid, now he's recovering. He's probably going to get expelled. He's definitely not going to be running any long distances anymore with half of I don't know how much of his lung they're going to remove.
Yeah.
And this is going to affect him for his entire life. Here's the thing. The cop says drop the knives. He drops the knives. He's not shot. Mm-hmm. The next story I see is the student's parents, the kid who got shot, his parents already have an attorney. And they're saying that, he should have done something else. He should have pepper sprayed him. He should have used a stun gun, all these other things. What do you think it's not like playing golf. No. This is a spur of the moment thing. It's like, what should I use? Should I use the pepper spray? Should I try to hit him with a taser? He's running around with a knife. He's moving around. I don't know how, maybe this kid's trained. I have no idea. I'm not carrying a shotgun that has a beanbag in it. I can't use that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like he has a golf bag there that he can pull. Well, what weapon should I use now? Drop the knife. If you don't drop the knife, you get shot. Yeah,
well, you move up to the level of force to stop the threat. That's what police officers are trained to do.
Right. So as soon as he shot the kid, guess what? Dropped the knives, went to the ground, no more threat. Nobody else was getting hurt.
That's it. None of that. You don't know if this kid's hopped up on drugs.
You have no idea what you're walking into.
It's like one of the biggest arguments they always hear is like, oh, well, he only had a knife. But if you go on YouTube, I forget the name of the principal, but it's all over the place on the internet. And you'll have somebody with a knife or a bat 21 feet away from you. Well, 21 feet away sounds like it's a pretty far distance. Somebody can close that 21-foot gap and get on top of you in less than a second.
Right.
And that's why you use a gun. That's why there's no shooting them in the knee, because police officers are trained to fire at the center mass of the largest target presented, which means if he's behind a corner with a gun and you stick your melon out, you go for center mass.
That's right. You go to shoot him right in the coconut.
Right. That's it. He's standing out where he's at, well, he got hit center mass, and unfortunately he lost a lung over it. But the cop's not wrong, but they're going to try to make it that he's wrong.
Right. It's not like the kid was wielding a penknife. Even if he was wielding a penknife, still
like 1.5 feet long. These knives.
Yeah, they were big. I mean,
that's like a sword almost.
It is. It's like a small sword.
Damn.
Yeah. So they locked down the school, of course, and they're saying the kid that pulled the knife said that he's been bullied for days. He's a good kid. Okay, he's a good kid. All right, maybe he'll learn from this. So now that they want all the videos turned over to the police.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to use them all because they know they got to present this to a jury.
Right. And of course, counselors will be available for any student or staff member who needs assistance.
What a racket that turned out to be.
Right, exactly. And I'm just saying, suck it up, Buttercup. Here's the way it works. You bring a weapon to school and you parade around, and if a police officer addresses you and tells you to stop, and you don't stop immediately, not in a couple steps, not when you feel like it, immediately, you're going to get shot, okay? And if you want to get shot, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And regarding the pepper spray, I mean, going by that picture that's up there, if that was an option, he would have hit other students.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that would have stopped that kid then and there.
No.
Because if the kid's standing there like swinging swords around, now you got a blind kid with pepper spray, coughing and wheezing, swinging swords. Someone's going to get hurt.
Right.
And they might not have tasers. Like here in New Jersey, tasers are illegal. The police aren't even allowed to have them.
I didn't know
that's
that.
right. Yeah. Some states, I don't know what the laws are regarding this particular state, but in New Jersey, you're not owning a taser is illegal. And that's why our police officers don't have them. They use guns,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Or batons if they, they're trained for hand.
I wouldn't even get close enough to that kid with a baton. There's no way. He could slice. You could slice him wide open with that knife. And you don't know what it might not even, you know what? It could have been a fake knife.
Yeah. Well, then I suppose there was more kids there with knives and he was the distraction. I mean, It's a crazy world now. I mean, you hate to say it, but it is.
We never brought stuff like that to school. Back then you fought, it was hand-to-hand combat. And you took an ass beating every once in a while.
Well, they're going to throw this whole bullying thing. They're going to try to justify this because they invoked bullying. Because the kid was bullied. That's what led to this. And of course, it'll ultimately be the school's fault because they didn't do enough, for the bullying and just.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you can't defend yourself, then,
you're not going to get far in life.
And you can't take it away, then you're just a target. You're a sheep. You're just going to be bullied and taken advantage of. You have to be able to defend yourself and fight back. Mm-hmm. And if they won't let you do that, now, I'm not saying you bring knives to school. That was stupid. You might get an ass kicking, but you got to get in there and get a couple good shots in on this kid.
Yeah. And look how out of control it is now, because I didn't even realize that was the normal, where there's a cop in every school now.
Yeah.
The only time we saw a cop was if it was career day, and then Officer Friendly came in and talked to you, or some kid's father was a cop, and you would bring your parents in and, this is my dad, he's a cop, this is my dad, he's a chemist, that kind of stuff.
Right. If we, if there was ever a fight, and there was fights in school, there was fist fights in school like that, 3 male teachers would come in and grab these kids and shuffle them down to the office. Yeah. That'd be the end of it.
Jack, Frog march them right down there. That's what you did.
Yeah, they just, grabbed them by the back of the pants, the shirt, and walked them right down to the office. There was none of this other nonsense. I mean, and it was
always 3 or 4 good fights throughout the school year. So you always had that to kind of look forward to. Because as kids, we were you were hoping there would be a fight because you knew there was always some kind of playground tension, that a fist fight would rectify.
That is true. I'm not going to lie. That is true.
Yeah, it was just because I remember seeing the cataclysmic fight between 2 kids behind the 7-Eleven in town, and I never saw so much blood in my life. But
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I've never really seen anything. I'll tell you what, the best fights used to be between the girls.
Well, yeah, they were crazy. They rip earrings out of each other's ears.
Right. And they would rip that. And ultimately, somebody would lose the top, so then you'd see boobies.
Yeah.
Somebody's boobs would be out.
Hair pulling, the whole, yeah. Yeah, it's just.
I mean, there's no real way of, there's always going to be conflict. And somebody's always going to step up the conflict. And then somebody has to stand up to it, to back them down. Like Dave, I was either Dave or Jerry, but I think it was even both of them. We're talking about there's a Cabela's that store that's near them. Yeah. And that they, when you go in there, everybody's polite. Because you have no idea if anybody has a gun or whatever, but everybody's polite. Nobody, and you said the same thing, an armed society is a polite society.
That's it. Ray Bradbury.
Okay.
That's his quote.
Now, I don't know if we got to arm everybody.
Oh, I'm all for that.
Well, I understand.
I'm not talking about arming the criminals. Let's be clear, because that's what he wants criminals to have it. No, if you're a law-abiding citizen, everybody should have a gun.
And I don't think you should be taking weapons into school, to be quite honest with you. I think
not that the kids, I think the teachers should have that option. Because that's why the schools are targeted, because they pass these gun-free zones. And if you're a criminal, hey, I'm less likely to be shot in a gun-free zone, so I'm going to go to that school. But if some of the teachers are there and they're armed, which some of the states have started to do after Sandy Hook and these other tragedies, that's what's...
Well, my thing is that, this might be a shock to some people, but criminals go after the weak. They don't go after the strong. They go after the weak target, something that they can hit and not get in trouble or get caught.
Soft target.
Exactly. They want a soft target. Now, if they know that, certain teachers are able to, if there's anything that goes, an active shooter situation starts, and there's guns and teachers in there that are taught in tactical, trained in tactical response
exercises.
Exercises of response. They're not going to that school.
They don't even have to be necessarily tactically trained. It's just the knowledge that there's an unknown amount of teachers in there that will return fire behind cover might be enough to deter that from happening.
I agree with you. I certainly agree with you. So this poor kid, he's probably still in the hospital.
Yeah, he's going to be in there for a while. Losing a lung, that's a major.
Yeah, well, we don't know if he lost the whole lung.
Yeah, but, just think about what, you have to, that's a lot of healing.
Right. Reminds me of that scene of Raiders in the Lost Ark when the crowd parts and Indiana Jones is standing there and the guy has the sword and he starts wielding his sword. And Indiana Jones pulls out his pistol.
Right. And that was the correct response.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
guy goes in. Now,
it's just like the old adage, because you shoot guns, I shoot guns. Mm-hmm. And what's the first thing that you never pull a gun unless you intend to shoot it. Right. And you never shoot anything unless you intend to destroy it, because that's why you have it. Well, it works the same way with whether it's a crowbar, a baseball bat, or a sword. If they're using it in that manner, you have to assume that they're going to hurt somebody or kill somebody.
Right. Getting ready for this podcast, I must have watched that scene from Indiana Jones where they, the crowd parts and the guy sitting there with the knife and he pulls out the gun and just shoots him. And the guy goes down and they all start cheering. As soon as the sword hits the ground, one of the guys, one of the people in the crowd grab the sword, pick it up in the air and go running away with it. It's like the body's not even cold yet and they're already sifting through.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Lawrence of Arabia where he had to kill the guy. Did you ever see that movie? Before I paint myself into a corner here.
No, I haven't seen the movie, but go ahead.
There's a scene in it very similar to that where Peter O'Toole played Lawrence of Arabia. It's an epic movie. You should really watch it. But he had to dispatch justice to keep an alliance between the Arabs together to battle the Turks. And, of course, there's feuding in between the different tribes of Arabs. So one Arab killed another tribe, a different tribesman. And if they retaliated, then the whole coalition would have collapsed. So him being a British soldier, he said, if I exacted justice, will everyone stay together? And they're like, yeah, sure, okay. So he shoots this guy, and he's so disgusted. He throws the gun on the ground, and about 50 guys pounce on the revolver, and then one guy does get it, and he carries it away, and they're all congratulating him, yeah, you got a gun. So it's
yeah, it's the same thing. It's they jump on it like rats, to be quite honest with you. Anyhow, stop being fools in school. Don't bring in weapons. Do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Yeah, you might lose a tooth. You might get lumped up, but at least you'll live. You know what I mean? All right. Now, to Colin Kaepernick's biological mom, I came across a story. I'm a little late to the party because the story I saw, I guess it was on one of those clickbait sites, that Heidi Russo is the birth mother of Colin Kaepernick. And when all this stuff was going on with him sitting down for the national anthem, she tweeted to him and said that, she wasn't happy that he sat down during the national anthem. So what does the public immediately do?
Oh, I'm sure they attacked her.
Of course they attacked her. So now we have no idea what their relationship, Colin Kaepernick's relationship is with Heidi Russo. We have no idea. He never replied to her tweet on Twitter. And listen, I'm sure Colin Kaepernick gets plenty of tweets. I don't even know if he knew that she tweeted them, to be quite honest with you. And it's unknown exactly why Heidi Russo gave up Colin Kaepernick. That's not explained. But Russo tried to deflect some of the criticism that she got. And some of it was pretty harsh. Like she got an instant message on Twitter, which was this. Nasty loving whore. We have enough running around destroying the Western world. We don't need a white slut like you pumping out more. And she said, love people who wallow in ignorance and sit on social media in their glass houses throwing stones. Hashtag get educated. Hashtag adoption is a blessing. I don't know if you see the picture, right?
Yeah.
She's an attractive woman. And I mean, she's young. Like I would say.
Well, that's probably why she gave him up for adoption.
I'm thinking the same thing.
Assuming.
She's probably in high school and got pregnant. Here's another one she got. Did you give up your kid because he's half black? If you don't go sit your ass down and drink a tall glass of STFU, which is shut the fuck up. And then she replied back, never said standing up for injustices is wrong. Clearly there's a problem. Don't twist what I said to make a racial point. I tell you what, I bet her. Now, she's married now and has 3 young boys. I bet the husband really loves the fact that she's all in this storm about her.
Well, it's kind of weird that she engaged in it because she did give him up for adoption.
Right. Exactly.
And he is an adult now.
Right. So why even bother? I have no idea. Like, I mean, every time a story like this comes up and everything, the husband, it's a little reminder to the husband that she was plowed like a Minnesota parking lot in a snowstorm by Calm's dad before they were, before these two got married. So, I mean, I'll make an assumption here, but, she looks like she was in her early teens when she got pregnant, and she decided to give Colin up for adoption instead of an abortion. So, winner, chicken dinner, right? For all parties. Wouldn't you think? Yeah.
Well, he turned out okay. I mean, he's kind of had a bad season the last couple of years, but
it seems like
look at him. I mean, people don't realize, like, if you make it, think about it, there's 32 teams in the NFL.
Right.
That's 32 slots to be a starting quarterback. That is like an elite group of people.
Exactly. Even if you suck
right.
in the
and
NFL.
He's one of 32.
Right.
That's an achievement.
I agree. I don't know what his political stance is. I know he's, we didn't hear much about this before he got this girlfriend who apparently is a liberal. And again, I'm not saying that's part of why he's doing this. Maybe he's using this platform. And I'm one of the guys that's...
I think she's from another land, isn't she?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Wasn't there something about there that he converted to Islam because of her?
Maybe. I'll be honest with you, I haven't followed it that far. But to me, I say that, if he wants to sit down during the national anthem and protest, then that's his right to sit down. I might not like it, and others might not like it, but it's his choice to do it. And he's not being violent, and he's not being, he's not robbing and looting, and it is bringing a lot of attention to the cause. I would rather see people do stuff like this.
Well, there's the problem that a lot of people have with the cause is that it was founded on a lie.
The lie of what?
That Michael Brown was just a gentle giant. He didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, well, that's true.
That's where it was all,
right.
He had his hands up. He was surrendering. And we were talking about cameras. Any other time, there's a million people out there with their cameras filming. Not one.
Oh, there's video of this. They're just not giving it up.
No, there's not one video of anyone that was there the day that Michael Brown was shot has ever surfaced.
Right.
Because the cop was right.
Yeah, exactly.
He was charging him like a mad bull.
Right. And that if that was not the case,
right,
there'd be 20 videos.
It would be like the one in the Carolina where that cop just had a mistrial where he shot he
shot that guy in the back
4 or 5 times. Yeah, I mean, if it was like that situation, every single phone video would have been available. Well, because you have one person. The law worked the way it's supposed to work.
Wait a minute. What do you mean there's one person?
One person out of the 12-person jury had doubts about the whole situation. That's a mistrial.
It's on video.
Regardless.
The whole thing is videotaped.
There's evidence, all kinds like that.
They are retrying this. This guy, the guy
they're
that shot
going to.
that
Of
guy,
course they will.
Yeah.
They're going to retry it because it's a mistrial.
Yeah, okay. That guy cannot get off. And what we're talking about is a story about where a police officer chased somebody and then got a hold of him, and the guy got away and started to run.
It was all captured on the dash cam of the police vehicle.
No, somebody walked up with a phone camera. He didn't see it. And the cop shot him in the back, running away, and then walked over and took his taser gun and threw it at where the body was.
Yeah, he threw a throwdown there.
Threw a throwdown. And this was all caught on video. And once the video and I'm telling you what, there's no doubt how this went down, how that one juror said whatever. Again, thank God they can retry this guy, because there's no way this guy should walk away.
Yeah.
he should definitely go to jail for this. And that's what I'm saying.
That's the way the justice system works. It's, if you cannot come up with a unanimous verdict, then it's a mistrial and it'll be tried again. So, I mean, it's a shame that they got to go through that again and put the family through that again. But the justice system worked the way it's designed to work. I mean, justice will be prolonged, but there will be justice.
Hopefully.
Oh, there will be. Yeah, it'll be just, yeah.
Okay.
Just because you have one lunatic down there, one lunatic juror,
That's true. I want to move on to our last story of the night. You brought this one up, and I'll tell you what, I was shocked by it. I never thought about this before.
Yeah.
And why don't you read it?
Okay, the topic is vaporized birds and bats at U.S. solar energy plants. So there's a $2.2 billion federally backed solar plant is not delivering as promised, using more than, there's Typo City all over this, so just bear with me, folks. Okay. This solar plant has 170,000 solar mirrors, and it zaps birds and bats and any wildlife that's in the air. So I'll get to the crux of this. The United States Geological Survey made the following claim. Fewer than 15 birds were being observed impacted by the solar flux in more than 700 hours of video. They go on to say, we are uncertain of the origin of dark trails following the birds. That's kind of scary, don't you think? There are a number of details that are not mentioned in their statements, such as when did the solar flux happen, day or night, was some of the image thermal or infrared, what percentage of the 700 hours of footage used multiple cameras. So there's a lot of questions. So basically, in a nutshell, when you have these, and you've probably seen pictures of them, they're in the desert, usually in Arizona in the Southwest. There's superheated air above these things, and the heat gets as high as 900 degrees. There's a video attached to this that John will, provide.
I'll put this on in the show notes.
So all that heat draws insects, and that in turn draws birds and bats who feed on the insects. And as soon as they hit that superheated air, their feathers burn off, and they just plummet to the ground, or they plummet into the solar panels, and they die. So this has been a huge goal. Windmills and wind farms kill a lot more wildlife than this. It's just something that's kind of no one really talks about because they're kind of keeping. There's so much animus against the oil and gas industry, and everything is renewable. But this is far more harmful to the environment than oil or gas is, especially when you consider how long we've been using oil and gas. We're going on 140 years now.
Okay, but yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I still think that we should keep looking into renewables. But here's what I didn't realize.
Right, I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I think it should be.
What they do with this solar panel is it's just a big mirror that they focus onto 450 feet in the air to a tank, and the mirror, the heat from the mirror, it's like putting a bug in a magnifying glass. The heat just heats the water, and the water makes steam, and the steam makes electricity. So that's how they're doing this. It's not like the sun hits the panel and the panel generates electricity, which is what I thought it was doing. These are just big giant mirrors. So as these birds fly through, if they're just flying over and they get hit with that, it vaporizes them. And you can see this white trail all of a sudden.
Contrails.
It's like a contrail, and all of a sudden, and that's it. Although I have seen, as I was watching, I saw a few seagulls flying around, and it was vaporizing them, and I'm thinking, what the hell? Those sea rats, I don't mind if we get rid of a few sea rats with that. They plummet to the ground.
Yeah, it's
already cooked.
Yeah, if you go to, we used to go to Pennsylvania all the time. I don't know the last time you've been up there, and I used to love working in Pennsylvania because it was like my old boss used to say, it's like driving through a postcard because it's very pretty, very scenic, especially when you're in the, driving through the mountains. And, but now you'll see miles, and I'm telling you, miles and miles and miles of these gigantic, hideously ugly fan blades. Just, you've seen it before. Yeah, for the wind farms. And they're a couple of 100 feet in the air, and there's hundreds of them, this one highway, I forget which highway it is off the top of my head, but if I was on it for like 5 or 6 miles, it was 5 or 6 miles of continuous turbines, wind turbines on this mountain range. And it was ugly as hell. I mean, it ruined the scenery. I'm like saying to myself, now, how is that better, than just drilling for oil?
I mean, again, and I'm reading a story the other day where, fracking is contaminating all our drinking water. And when we don't have water anymore, that's it. Doesn't matter what we drive and where we get our energy. No water.
Well, there's a lot of flawed science, just like there is with there's people with an agenda against fracking. There's a lot of people that are making a lot of money on fracking, and by I mean a lot of people like you or me that gave oil companies the mineral rights,
That's
and
right.
they're making a lot of money. That Marcellus Shale that extends through Pennsylvania.
Right.
I mean, there's people. I mean, we drove all the trips we went up there. They were pretty, not poor, but they weren't the most affluent areas of Pennsylvania. Well, now just because they own property and that shale reserve runs right underneath it, these people are making, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 a year by selling the mineral rights.
Right. But now if they
and their water's fine. They've got wells.
You think? I don't know that yet. We'll see. It's all going to play out, because if they sold their soul for this $30,000, $60,000 a year, and they have no more drinking water, I don't want to hear it.
But they've been doing it for years.
I listen.
It's just because, and as usual, it's these Hollywood Yahoo that live in their ivory towers in Los Angeles that, are out of touch with the rest of the country.
I don't know. I see documentaries where the guy goes over to his kitchen, his kitchen sink.
With the fiery water.
Yeah, turns on the sink and lights the
lighter. Did you know that the water did that before the fracking?
No, I don't. But guess what?
Well, that's because you have to study up, because some of these people have an agenda. There's something in that water precluding before the fracking that it always did that. It's not because of the fracking.
Well, I'll tell you what.
It was basically like a Michael Moore film, because he's so disingenuous with his films.
But if they're wrong, if we don't know yet, and if they're wrong, the damage is done. You can't undo. You can't undo the damage. You could say there's propaganda on both sides. Propaganda for it, propaganda against it. And we don't know which is true. We don't. And if all of a sudden, all the water, now imagine all that shale that's all up and down the East Coast, all Pennsylvania and all, that's exactly where our water comes from too. So if that all gets contaminated, now what do we do?
But it hasn't happened.
Yet.
But they've been doing it for a number of years. It's just now it's become so affordable. The technology has progressed that it becomes economically viable to do that. Yeah, it's like a few years. Remember when gas got so cheap when you and I first started driving?
Yeah.
Like in the early 80s. All right, if you went to Texas or Oklahoma and you said, boy, isn't it great that the gas is so cheap, you would have gotten beaten up.
Oh, yeah, because they don't want to hear that.
Well, because this is what people don't understand. Let's say it costs $50 to pull a 55-gallon drum of oil out of the ground.
Right.
Okay, because now you got to pay guys like you and me to do that work.
Right.
You got to ship it, you got to process. So there has to be profit there. If on the market there's an oil glut and it costs
40.
What's that?
And they can only get 40 for it. They're losing $15 a barrel.
That's exactly.
Stop.
So what are they going to do? Is
They'll
what
stop.
they did in Texas and Oklahoma is they capped the wells.
Yeah.
So now if that's your livelihood, and you go down there and someone says, "Hey, isn't it great that oil is so cheap now?" And people get upset because it's a fungible asset, and that's exactly what happened to fracking. It was incredibly expensive, and now the technology has advanced along far enough that it's gotten cheaper.
Well, your buddies over in another land, they all got together and they started to, ease up on production. So I don't know if you've noticed, but gases went up 25 cents a gallon in the
Yeah, well, that's Saudi Arabia announced that about 3 weeks ago. They reduced output 1.2 million barrels a day.
Right.
And the reason gas was so cheap, it wasn't anything that our politicians did, although they're more than happy to take credit for it. What happened was Iran was pumping the shit out of oil and to try to bury the Saudi Arabians, and the Saudi Arabians retaliated by doing the same thing. the problem for Iran is they have no refineries. So whatever they drill, they got to send to other countries with refineries to refine it and return it back as gasoline. So that's why Iran likes the saber rattle to drive up the price. Well, the Saudi Arabians were doing it to crush our fracking and oil industry because we don't need them, and people don't know it. The number one source of oil that we get from is Canada, and followed by Mexico. And it's only like a third of our oil. It's like Reagan said, the world is awash in oil. There's plenty of oil. It's just that these sicko environmentalists won't let us get it.
Well, okay. But I still would like to move on to something. We're smart enough now to figure out another way of getting energy. And again, I understand that, the combustion engine is a great thing and, oil and gas heat is a great thing. But man, wouldn't it be great if we could harness the energy from the sun or the wind or all that kind of stuff and make it
would
affordable.
Be great. And we will get there. But see, the problem with government intervention, as always, it distorts the market. And this, this outgoing administration, they just want it to be wind and solar, and it's not going to work. You cannot power this country on wind and solar unless there is a miracle breakthrough in technology. Now, will we get there? Sure. Probably eventually we will. But you're not supposed to be picking winners and losers by punishing gas and oil and giving the money to, like, say, Solyndra, who went out of business after the taxpayers gave them $587 million and they went belly up in 18 months. Beautiful. Because it's not there yet. I mean, the energy policy of this country should be all of the above.
Yeah.
Nuclear, wind, solar, oil, everything. Coal, we can do it. But, and what they do is they scream and, you're going to pollute the planet. You're going to burn the skies, the water. Yeah, because...
well, they're having
all the executives, they don't drink water or breathe the air either. Like, they're just going to we don't care.
Well, I understand that. But, again, they have to, I'll tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen it, corporations are evil. And it's all about the almighty dollar. And I'm telling you what, they really don't care. They really don't care about the effect that they have on people. And these people that run these corporations, they're soulless holes as far as I'm concerned. And that's my opinion. Send all hate mail to hello@brandxpodcast.com. I'm sure Maul's over there. Dear Brand X Podcast.
Granny Clampett.
I heard what you did in the review you gave our Crime and Cocktails podcast. And I'm just here to say that I'm having none of it. We're funny, and we likes to drink. And I'll tell you right now, we're going to continue to do it. We don't care what you say. And all that sound quality, that's just a bunch of bunk. You can hear us.
That's a bunch of hooey.
That's hooey, I say.
That's just hooey.
Ma, you can't send that to him. You got to get on the computer box and send him an email to hello@brandxpodcast.com. All right, I'll get on the computer box. Hold on. Dear Brand X Podcast, I was appalled by your review of the Crime and Cocktail Podcast. We're funny and informative. It says so right in the description of the podcast. And I think...
Would we lie?
We are going to do things our way. And we don't need any city slicker podcast guy to tell us how to do what we're going to do. Sincerely, Ma. Okay. I'm sure that's coming. That's coming right now. We'll see. Oh, my goodness. I love podcasting. And again, I am not saying that the Crime and Cocktail podcast is bad because they're new and all. And I would help them become better. But the fact is, you don't go and start throwing a bunch of people under the bus to make yourself look better.
No.
It just doesn't happen. That's not the right way to go.
I guess they went the attention whore route.
Right.
That's what this is. Look at us.
Look at us. We're Crime and Cocktails. And we're a better podcast than this podcast, this WTF with Mark Maron. What's he know? He's one of them highfalutin comedians. Listen to Crime and Cocktail. We'll make a drink, we'll get drunk, and somewhere around the 1 hour and 45 minute mark, you might laugh.
Well, mic our ice up.
Yeah. I like the sound of the ice cubes. I think it adds depth and a little bit of ambiance to our podcast. How dare you?
You would be torn listening to this because part of you would hate it because of the sound quality.
Oh, it's just great.
But the other part of you would love it because they're like you. They're all in the conspiracy theories and crap.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like you could open up your refrigerator and you see a conspiracy in there.
That's true. I do. I'm not going to lie. You know what? I don't trust nobody. Now, I sound like
Evidently
Mom.
not.
I don't trust none of them city slickers. I think they all got the media in the pocket. See, and they put the stories out there that they want you to hear. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, that's where it all goes. And if you think I'm too stupid to figure that out, you got another thing coming to you. That's right. You listen to the Crime and Cocktail Podcast. We come out once a week. And you know what? Next week, we might even let Amanda get close to the mic. Now, there you're...
I don't know where they're from, but that accent that you're doing is...
Now, that's some music there. Come on, Paul. Let's swing it around, Paul. Hey! Whistling Dixie. When was the last time you whistled in Dixie, Paul? It's been a while. I'm going to kick him in the head.
Oh, so the Hillbilly Bears? I had a Barbera production.
That's right.
Did you ever see the one where Pa became like a rock star?
Let me tell
And
you
he's just strumming the guitar like, man, we're going to do the bear.
Yeah, he sounds like Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, really. That's right. He Vedder got his inspiration. He watched the Hillbilly Bears.
And he said, you know what? I can sing like that.
Yeah. Him and Kurt Nobrain.
That's right.
Till this day, I have no idea what the lyrics to Smells Like Teen Spirit are. I don't know.
You can look it up. You can go to the interwebs.
Yeah.
You go to the interwebs.
Wasn't really a big fan of Nirvana. I thought they were overrated.
You know, I just want to tell you guys at the Brand X podcast that
BXP.
I went to get my hair done down at the beauty salon. And a lot of those ladies down there listened to the podcast on their computer box. And they said that they loved our show. And that we was funny. And they thought I was the funniest of them all. Shut that rooster up! Damn bird. Youngin, go out there and fetch that chicken. We're going to eat that thing for dinner tonight. What? I missed. Oh, what do you say we get out of here?
Works.
Okay. All right, boss. We've been rambling.
Yep.
All right.
Well, rambling, gambling man.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to the Brand X podcast. And as always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and at brandxpodcast.com. We would love it if you would connect with us on social media and any social media of your choice except LinkedIn, because we don't do LinkedIn. Believe it or not, we are friendly. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, the Twitter, and it's really easy to find us by going to brandxpodcast.com/contact. Deuce and I hope you enjoy our shenanigans and come back next week for another episode of the Brand X Podcast.
Everybody have a great night.
That's it. We're just getting into it.